Makes a lion a lion. I'm looking because if I can find out what makes a lion, I can help you turn that switch on. Because we all have it. That switch is in all of us. It's in a high school dropout. That switch is in someone who was homeless and ate out of trash. That switch exists in all of us. And I knew if I could turn the switch on, and if I could teach you how to turn that switch on. And so I'm reading the story, and I'm asking myself.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the Fighterside Chats. I don't know if I say that every time, but we have talked about and anticipated Forrest being on here. So he is known as the Black Clover. Yay! So Forrest joined us 2 years ago?
It'll be 2 years this year in September.
Okay, so like less than 2 years ago, and he is currently 3-0 in MMA under us, and he's crushing it. So he currently holds the UFG Welterweight Championship for MMA. So that's exciting. This is a good local promotion. They're up in Zephyr Hills, so we've been on, I think, all their cards. I think we missed one.
I think we missed one.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna. The next one's going to be in May, where he defends this bad boy.
May 21st.
Yeah, May 21st. So we're going to get to know you as a fighter. As we've been doing, we're going to be doing these fighter interviews. But one thing I do want to talk about, just kind of jump right into it. Let's talk about your fight journey thus far. So how did it feel, like, getting ready for this title shot?
It felt the same as usual in terms of competing. Since I competed in high school in wrestling and I did the one tournament for BJJ,
yeah,
it just I felt comfortable and I felt like I was over ready. I had to work that day before, so I was just a little tired. But in terms of preparation, all the training, I felt good. The only thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was the last minute opponent change, but I still was prepared, I still was ready, so I still felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah, so that's something to note. We were preparing for one person who had 6 fights on that we could watch, so I was like, yeah, this is a lot of content to go on. And then I think, was it the day before?
I think
or 2
it was
days
the
before?
day before. I think it was the day before. It might have.
The day before weigh-ins. It was the day before
right,
weigh-ins.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Because I remember looking at your new opponent, like, was he getting ready for a fight? Did he cut weight? Like, was that like I'm like trying to just watch him walk around? I'm like, this is all I got now. But yeah, we had a last-minute opponent change, which is something that can happen. It even happens at the highest levels. Something that we do have to prepare the fighters for is like any weird thing that can happen to throw you off your game. So honestly, if the camp was too good, we were owed an opponent change, I guess, right? Like, there has to be something. So, because even the fight card, it went pretty smoothly. I don't even think we had any issues, well, related to us.
Right.
There were no, we were like watching other things. Like, but we won't talk about that. All right. So, did you ever, so I know your background is in wrestling. So we should put that in the description. There's the Spectators have done it's called Unplugged. So it's their first episode where they did coverage on the Shark Tank that we put Forrest through for this fight. And then they put in some highlights from his fight. So it's really, really cool. We'll put that in the link in the video. So definitely subscribe to them as well. But one of the things that they pointed out was starting out with your wrestling career. So can we talk about when you got into martial arts or combat sports?
I did. Well, first I used to watch WWE. So when I was joining wrestling, I thought I was going to be jumping off of chairs. And I just thought I was going to be doing some crazy stuff. But it wasn't what I thought it was at all. So when I went to join the team, which I went to East Bay sophomore year, and I just saw all of this grabbing and like just stuff that I was like, nah, this isn't wrestling at all. And I remember watching WWE and Kurt Angle at the time. I was used to talk about winning the Olympics with a broken neck. I didn't know, like I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
With a broken freaking neck.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together. That's what he was talking about. So I joined them and I actually ended up liking it, and I fell in love with it.
Did you have any reservations? So like whenever you noticed that it wasn't the professional wrestling like you thought it was, did you have any like moments where you're like, well, I don't want to do this, or I'm just going to give it a probation period?
I did, but my coach Mr. Cardi, like he kind of talked me into it, like, nah, you can do this. Like he right, he was so on me, like, no, you can do this. Like, let's try it, see how you like it. And at the time, I didn't really do any sports at the time. That was pretty much my very first in sport, right? So it was sophomore year, and I hated training. Like, I used to hate it. I hated the running, the bleachers. I hated all of it. Like, I hated it. And he just stayed on me.
Wow.
And he let me do my first varsity match, but I did it at a different weight class. I did it upper class because the guy that was wrestling at 160, I couldn't beat him. Like, he was more technical, he had more skills. He had been wrestling for 4 years. So I just continued doing it after that.
Wow. So when did the switch flip? Because as a coach, I literally tell everybody, like, be more like Forrest, because Forrest is always working out. He's always putting together his own workouts. He's always filling me in on everything. He's always working so hard. So I'm shocked to hear that you hated.
I did. So sophomore year, I only wrestled 3 years. That's it. I only wrestled 3 years. Like, people think that I wrestled more, but it's only been 3 years.
Wow.
In those 3 years, I did get scholarships to wrestle, but I didn't take them. I was having some issues back in the day. You know? But my sophomore year, when I just kept training, stayed into it, and it was the excitement. And at the same time, I had my little brother join as well. She was a freshman. So if I would have quit, then he still liked it. Like, he actually liked it, and I didn't want to quit it, and he'd do it by himself. So I actually started getting better my sophomore year, and then junior year came, and I became a beast. Like, I was really good. Like, I had to stick with it at that point. That year, I won districts as a second-year wrestler.
Wow.
Right. The really good wrestlers, they start off at like 6 years old, 8 years old. They've been doing it for a long period of time. And I would like to point out that I did beat a Brandon wrestler as well. It was in the summer tournament, but I still take it.
Yes. Dude, that is so cool. So what do you think it is about you that you obviously are naturally talented with wrestling? Obviously, there's hard work, but if you did it for such a short period of time and you got as good as you did, what do you think that is attributed to?
I think that it was me competing against my brothers. I have 7 brothers.
Whoa!
All from the same mom. 7 brothers. Like,
wow.
So we always used to fight each other, compete with each other, like who's better.
So Mama's
at this.
a real MVP.
Right,
Holy
right,
cow,
yeah.
that household sounds like a lot.
Right. So
everybody's fighting.
Exactly.
She's got padded walls.
Oh yeah.
It's like, don't be alarmed.
even it's not, obviously this isn't good, but tried fighting moms before and they didn't work out good. Like, my mom put them hands on you. Like,
well, you gotta if you have that many boys, you gotta show them who's boss.
So it was just competing with them, and it just gave me that drive. Like, I want to be better. Like, I can do better, and I stuck with it.
That is so cool. So one thing that the team tells me that I didn't even know you were doing this, but Forrest will on his own like message other students and just be like, you're doing great, and he connects with people and he motivates them. So do you feel like that's from your family? Like, because it sounds like you guys, even though you're obviously practicing with each other, so of course siblings argue and fight or whatever, but like y'all are obviously motivating each other to better yourselves. So do you feel like that quality that you have to motivate your team comes from your family or your wrestling background?
I think it's both. I think it's both because when I wrestled, I created a family there.
Yeah.
And then obviously I have my own family, and then also like being here, I feel like it's a family gym. So like I think that's where it comes from, and I'm always trying to like check on people, make sure that they're good. And if I train with you and I see something that you could have did better, or that you know, I don't want you feeling like, oh, this isn't for me. Like, I want people to know, like, I started off, like how I started off to where I am now is totally different.
Dude.
You know, so I'm always trying to, you know, push people like that. So
that's awesome. And that really helps, because the way that our team operates at this point is everybody motivates each other in different ways. Everyone inspires each other for different reasons, and I love that. And that's something that you definitely bring to the table, because you're an athlete that people look up to. There's a way that you came in here and performed when you first started in jiu-jitsu, and everyone was like, who's this white belt taking everybody down? And everyone was like, what? And you're also so nice and humble and willing to learn. So just watching you grow has been such an inspiration for a lot of people, including myself. But at the same time, the way that you learn from everyone else, I feel like you've been inspired as well from other people on your team. So that give and take, and we all grow together, which I feel like is something that you did with your siblings as well.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your fight career starting. I remember when you first asked me to fight. Well, first of all, I'm not going into the sparring story. We can go into that before or in a little bit. But to your fight career, you said that you wanted to at least fight once. So now we're 3 times in. So what happened after that first fight?
It's a rush. Like it's like, oh man, I can do it. Like it's a different feeling.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different feeling, and I think as well is that I don't have a fear in losing. Like if I lose, I take it as a lesson, or like my coach imprinted in my brain, like you learn from losses. Like if you lose close, like what could you have done better? And he always have you visualize you're down 2 rounds, you're down, it's 30 seconds left, what are you going to do to win? He never wanted us to picture ourselves dominating anyone. Like he always made us picture ourselves losing or being down. Like what are you going to do to improve, or what are you going to do to win this battle?
Yeah.
So I kept that, and it's exciting. Like I know that I can go further. Like, and then like it's just a different feeling. And then like the team as well, like everyone comes together. Like I loved like the last fight, everybody just got for like it was just like I can hear it, and I'm like, oh man, I can't let no one down. Like
that was really cool. You had like that whole part of the building.
Right.
It was like between your friends and family,
right,
and then the team.
Exactly.
It was like, dude, that's everybody over there is for Forrest.
Right.
That was so cool. I'm getting emotional. I do that every episode. Why do I? Every episode, something makes me want to cry, except for Ian's. but yeah, I didn't cry in Ian's. But Robbie's lit. I got emotional in yours, getting emotional now. But, you know, it's my team. So did you, so you got out of high school, you said you didn't wrestle, you didn't go to college to wrestle. And you had your first fight at 26, 27? You just
20 last year. So 28. I had our first fight. Well, because I'm thinking of it like how many fights I could have had that people pulled out of. That's that's why. Because so technically it would have been 27, but.
Yeah, we did prep that. Don't make me cry again. That was the one where that was that December card that everybody pulled.
Oh yeah, everybody.
The whole team was like, man,
right.
I'm sad, coach, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't help that they all pulled out. What was I gonna get? Okay, so in that break, so 18, I imagine, was your last combat competition. And then it was 27, did we just say? 28?
28.
Anyway, 20. So about 7-8 years later, or no, 10, almost 10 years later. So it was almost 10 years later that you competed again, right? Mm-hmm. So what was that like after, because you have had, since then, you've been married, had kids, and you have a house, career, all that, you're living that family man life, and that's what you built in that time frame. So from the moment that you stopped competing, you focused on your goals and your family, and then fought again. So what was that journey like? Was it a dream you always had to fight, or was it like a reignited thing where you were like, whoa, I can do this, like in your later 20s?
Honestly, so 2012, the year I graduated, that last wrestling year, I played 6 in states. And after that, I still was like doing like some training, like a little bit of training, and after that, like I just got super lazy. So I gained weight. I got up to 220. I was 220 pounds. I gotta show you pictures. I had high blood pressure. I was like this close to getting on blood pressure pills, like medication. Like I was really bad. Like I was just out of it, right?
This is where we put a montage of all the photos of him, the stills from the fight, where he's just ripped. like I had high blood pressure. I was just, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was bad. I was just out of it because at the time I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I did always want to fight. Like my first fight that I actually like sat down and watched was Forrest Griffin versus Bourne. It was I think on Tough. And it was the first fight that I watched, and like I really got into it. And after, it just like I had to find a motivation again. So when I had my baby in 2016, like I was like, okay, I gotta be healthier. Like I gotta be healthier. I gotta do better. Like a lot has to change, and I decided to make a lifetime change. And once I got down to about 190, 200, that's when I tried to enter here, like when we was at the other gym, to try to see if I could start training. I knew it would help, and yeah, the rest is pretty much history.
Dude, that's cool. So now we can talk about you asking to spar. We'll talk about that in more detail. So, we had started our striking program in 2020, so like right when Forrest had joined, and it was not really, well, I say we started it. Gracie Brandon always had striking programs here and there, but there was never like an organized fight team. It was not where we could have, because now we have multiple time blocks on the schedule. We have a full-fledged Muay Thai program with a lot of people in it. So now, so in 2020 was when we adopted the Rufus Sport curriculum. Shout out to Duke Rufus. I think I did that already. I do that all the time. I think I've done that in a few episodes now. So that's where, so we finally had a curriculum to teach, and we were building onto that. So when you're starting a fight team, you have to make sure you have your foundation. That's going to take like a year to get everybody from the ground up. We had a few people with experience, but pretty much everybody else was ground up. So Forrest came in, and the way he really opened my eyes as a coach, because I was new to coaching at the time, and he really opened my eyes to how I already knew everybody learned differently, but how differently they can learn. Because this man was confused in class
every time,
moving so slow, doing things backwards, and I was just like, okay. And then he had the audacity to ask me if he could spar on Saturdays with everybody else. And I was like, hell no, Forrest, you can watch. You can learn how to hit pads. And I would tell him, no. And he was always really respectful. He always was like, okay. And then, but he would always ask. And I was like, okay, well, what's the deal? So one day, finally, he's like, I think you had told me, like, I've sparred before. I promise. You told me about your brother.
Right. Mm-hmm.
His brother's a pro boxer. And you were like, I can do it, I promise. And I was like, give me a chance. So I was like, all right, fine, get in there. And so we got in there and just performed. Like, looked really good out there. Like, he knew what he was doing. He was actually doing things he learned in class. But he wasn't executing it in class. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, what? And that's what made me realize that, okay, he just learned, he processes it differently. So if I teach it, it's almost like you read a book, and then you're like, okay, let me go try to do it now. But the slowing it down step by step, isolating everything is confusing for you for some reason. It's like almost like you're like, no, I got it. I'm just going to do it now. And then it's like confusing when we have to break it down slowly. So that was a really interesting start. And, but you know what? I don't want anybody, because this is mostly our students watching, do not sit here and think that you can just bother me into sparring, okay? No. Obviously, he had an audition and he passed. But this was before we had the test too. And back then, he would have passed the sparring test of flying colors as well. So we have since then designed a sparring test so that we can have like a threshold of requirements, so that if you pass that test, you have a skill level and an endurance level to train with the fight team. So we have that now, but I like telling that story because people will come into the class and they have goals. They've got big goals. They watch you guys. I'm looking at Liz when I look behind the camera. They watch y'all. So Liz and Forrest are two people that people look at in the gym and are like, whoa, like they are so good. And they watch y'all, they're like, whenever they get confused in class or whatever, people are like, oh, I don't think I could ever be at that level. But yes, you can. Because Forrest, still to this day, when he holds pads, he's like, so it's okay. Like, everybody has their way of learning, and everybody learns at their own pace. Everyone performs at their own pace. On top of that, Liz and Forrest trained in combat sports as teenagers. So when you do that, you do have an advantage. So varying backgrounds, it's going to take different things to get y'all better, but we have such a good, well-rounded team, and everybody loves building each other up. So I love diving into that stuff because of that, because there's definitely, nobody's hopeless, dude. Nobody's hopeless. All right, so let's go into some other stuff. So that's as far as fighting goes. So obviously, your experience with weight cutting because of wrestling, and then but you did go through your ups and downs before you started fighting. So I imagine that you're pretty strict with your diet now.
I am. I pretty much try to watch the calories, just drink a lot of water. I don't really eat pork anymore. Like, I kind of cut that out. I've had times where I've tried plant-based diets. Those are pretty tough, but you know, if you got the right
Did someone
mindset,
say just eggs?
it's really tough. But now I have it down to where it's good. Like, I don't have to do a crazy weight cut anymore. Like,
Nice.
it's pretty natural now.
So you're fighting at your natural weight class.
Like right now, I walk around at 170, 175.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. So what's your favorite cheat meal?
My favorite cheat meal, I would have to say, I love this place called Bolé. It's on 60th.
That is not a cheat meal, boy.
It is a cheat meal. Like, for me, it is, but it's a bowl, and I mean, it's on the healthier side, but I love it. Like, that's
Freaking star student over here.
That's my cheat meal.
I'm over
Protein,
here like Wendy's cheddar biscuit, like you know, like the Wendy's number 8, like
no,
chili cheese fries.
because when I've done the cheat meals before like that, like, I'm always like, after I eat, I feel like,
yeah, it does.
Like, if it doesn't hit the spot, it feels wrong to me. Like,
yes.
Like, if maybe it's too salty, maybe it's too salty or something.
The bread, the grease, for sure.
Yeah, but dessert wise, so I tear up some dessert. Strawberry shortcake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's refreshing.
That's that right.
How is this not healthy?
Oh, cheesecake, yeah.
Ooh, cheesecake. Yeah. Desserts are a different story for sure. We love Bolé. We live right by it, so we get Bolé all the time.
Oh, see.
So it's delicious. So what other hobbies do you have?
Hobbies, I love bowling. I'm not. Wait. I'm not great at it, but I love bowling though. I bowl, and that's like, if you want to see a competitor, like, that's where you would see me come out,
dude.
Like, I will bowl and talk crap. Like, that's where you can.
Dude, Lance and I will go on bowling dates, just the two of us, and we take it so seriously. We go through so many games. We're like, how much time do we have?
Right.
Let's get
Same.
it. I'll be like, oh god, I gotta stretch now. Hold on, just give me a second, because I'm like, taking this. So we got so many reps in. I'm like, oh, I need it. Like, dude, that's so awesome.
I love bowling.
My dad was like a professional bowler. Like, he was on a league, and he used to have all these trophies. So we used to always go bowling as kids, and he would get his own lane. So he'd be like, don't get on my lane, nerds. Like, and he would be taking it super seriously.
Does he bring his own ball?
So,
He's one of those?
Yeah, he was one of those. So we don't ever bowl anymore, but man. But yeah, that's a team trip bowling.
Oh yeah.
We already did Top Golf. So that's which was hard for everybody.
Yeah, that was a tough night.
Fighting doesn't translate to Top Golf.
No.
All of us were like, it was bad. All right, cool. So bowling will be the next thing that we do. So I know I said we were going to get away from fighting, but topics. I was going into other questions, but I actually do have more fight related questions.
All right, that's fine.
So, but it's called the Fighterside chats. So, what is going through your head before a fight?
Honestly, just like, well, let me be honest. When I don't feel anything, I don't think about anything until I get my hands wrapped. Like, that's when my nerves, for some reason, I don't know why, but that's when my nerves start to kick in, and then I just think like, okay, like, I start thinking about positions and like, how can I lose? What can I do not to lose? I think about, if I'm on the ground, how am I going to get up? If I have them on the ground, what am I going to do? That last fight, I was just tuned in because, as I told you, it was a lot of people saying things like, oh man, you got to be more aggressive. Like, you got to throw more punches. You got to do this. You got to do that. You know, people don't really know. Like, I'm still getting comfortable with doing that. Like, cause I've been competing just to compete, not to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
So now, like, that last fight, I just was tuned in. I was like, okay, like, gonna have to hurt this kid. You know.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I'm cool with him now too. Like everybody I fought, like I try to keep like a
well,
civil
we're
relationship.
cool with that gym too. That's the first gym that we've ever been cool with that we also fight, and I love that. I love that about Franklin.
Right.
He's like, yeah, fight my boy.
Right.
He's like, get in there with Forrest. Get in there with Quest.
Exactly.
Like,
That's it.
I don't want any excuses. This fight's happening.
And he spars with you too, and he spar with you as well. Like he's so open. He's like, you know, Wednesday, like he's just open. Like he's really nice individual, and but I just was like, I gotta get this belt. Like I wanted to be the first to bring a belt back to the gym, fight for the fight team. Liz would be second. So
and then we got Lance, and then you have another title shot. Yo, so he might be. Well, let's manifest. He's gonna be holding 2 belts, bro, from 2 promotions. Like, what's up? Who's next?
Yeah.
He's gonna be like those boxing champions that go like this and they have all their belts.
And I will say too, like each fight that I've done, I gained a different experience with it. Even if you look, like my stance has changed each fight as well. You know, so like my first fight, I was just so amped up.
Very Conor McGregor.
Right. And when I was just so amped up and like happy to be like there, and like it felt different. Like it just felt different. And you know, after fighting, like Dylan was a brawler. You know, the Smith brothers, like their gym, like with the whole what is it, brawl? The
Bikers and Brawls?
No, the fight thing that they do. Bare knuckles.
Bare knuckle.
Sorry, brain free.
It's like
like
brawl.
they have a lot of bare knuckle guys. So like
really?
So he's like they're really like brawlers.
He's like, do we have to wear gloves?
Right. So they're really brawlers. And then the second fight with Garrett Burns, even that fight, that was a last minute fight that I took because I was supposed to fight a guy at 170.
6 days notice.
Yeah, and
he went up in weight. So.
I went up to 185. I was supposed to fight at 170, so I was already cutting the weight to fight a guy at 170. And then found out last minute, hey, you know, I don't have the 170 guy, but you can fight at 185. I'm the type of person I can't turn away from a fight. Like I wanna do it. Like I'm going to take the fight.
Yeah.
And even with that, I gained more experience. Like that guy was as strong as an ox, but the conditioning is different because the condition that we do here. You know, the training, the fight, the short things, and then the third fight with him, like it was a last minute change as well. But that kid was just moving. Like he had a different.
He was wily.
Yeah, like he was wily. Like, but it was like I didn't like. If you rush in, I felt like there's a counter. Like, so you have to adapt. I feel like I adapt in every single fight, and I feel like I got better with every opponent as well. Like just the experience that I'm gaining.
What I noticed too is I feel like you have gotten better at reading your opponents and programming them in the first part of the fight.
Right.
I think we were a bit confused in the last fight because there was that point where you took Mount in the first round of that fight, and there were all the unanswered strikes, and all of us were like, why is it still going? I thought it was going to be a first round finish because of all of the unanswered strikes. But I was like, okay, I guess we're going. And I remember even saying that when the bell rang and we were in the corner, and I was like, okay, I guess we're going another round. That's fine. How we feeling? We good? We good? Does he feel?
Are you having fun?
Yeah. I'm like, is there? Is he challenging you at all? Like, but not anything against that kid.
Right.
He also took it on short notice. I do not believe that he had I know for a fact he didn't have the experience that the other guy had that you were supposed to fight. So it was a whole. Like, he's game and deserves to be admired solely because he took the fight. I don't know what the story is behind it. I don't know if Franklin was like, get in there because I need this fight. But either way, he was game. He was very respectful. And he's definitely got a lot of potential. He's going to go far for sure. Especially because he took that beating for 3 whole rounds.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that fight was allowed to continue. However, he didn't get hurt, which is cool. But there was a point in time where we go from... Forrest's last fight, we're like, you need to tee off, you need to be more aggressive.
Right.
And there is a picture of him in this fight cradling his opponent's head, the back of his head, and just boom, boom, boom. And all of us are like, ref, like, he's stopping it. Like, it just boom, boom. I'm like, okay, well, there's the aggression. So, and then obviously there's things that we learned from that fight too. And like you said, it's only going to get better and better. So, and what I love is there are 3 visible differences in those fights that our future fighters and current fighters can look at and see. You're always evolving. You're always learning. Losing is learning. Any of my fighters lose, I tell them, we learn from it. I want you to be proud of your performance regardless. Or if you're not proud, that's fine, whatever. Like, I don't want you to feel like you looked like garbage. But if you're not proud of yourself because you didn't pull a trigger or whatever, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you that you can't feel that way. But I do want you to be proud of your ability to look at what you need to fix, right?
Exactly.
Like the trigger thing in the second fight. At the same time, that guy was strong and holding your gloves. I mean, I'm just going to call it out because I saw it with my eyes and it's on camera. Hold the little guy's gloves. But anyway, and it happens too. I don't like to. I jokingly throw shade at stuff like that, but we watch it at the highest level. The last UFC card when what's his last name? First name's Alex with the hair, but he kept grabbing the cage, and they were like, and the ref was like, stop grabbing the cage, let go of the cage. But it's hard to it's hard not to let your instincts take over because you're in a fight, and it's like survival instincts is like, these gloves are here, and if I let go of them, he's gonna punch my face. So it's like, if you're grabbing the gloves on purpose, I can't tell, But I am gonna call it out because it's against the rules. But it is a survival thing. Grabbing the cage, grabbing the gloves, sometimes turning your back. A lot of times people run away from punches because they're like, oh shit, So, but yeah, you definitely did learn from every fight. You did transform in every fight, which is really cool.
And when I watch back, I look at the things that I could have did. Like I always see stuff different. Like outside of it, when I go back and watch, I'm like, there was an arm triangle right there. There was this there. Like it's all. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. Like I said, people think that I've been doing this longer than I have, and I haven't. Like every time I come to training, I'm still learning. Every single, even that long combo we did today, I was like, it's all learning. Like I'm just still a student of this, like big time.
Yeah, well, and that's how you're going to be forever. That's how they never stop learning, and you hear people talk about that at the highest level, and that's the attitude that it takes to get better and to be the best. You can only be the best if you're like always, what am I trying to say? Like, as long as you recognize that there's always somebody to learn from, and there is always technically somebody out there who can beat you. Just because you haven't met them yet doesn't mean that they're not out there. So you may be the best right now, but if you start acting like you are just the best and there's no question, and there's not going to be somebody who could ever take you out, then that's whenever your training slips, you get too cocky. You don't think about those bad positions you could be in. You don't think, okay, well, I need this round to win. You're like, oh, whatever, I'm the best. So there's that line that we do talk about. We've talked about it in a few episodes of being confident and using your ego to fuel you, and then where it hurts you, where it becomes a defense mechanism. And so you've never had that. You've always been so humble. You've always been so eager to learn. And I think pretty much all of our fighters are, because the people who are in place, who are leading the way and are pioneering this fight team like y'all, that everyone's very humble. Everyone's very eager to learn. So has there ever been a point in your fight journey where you felt like giving up or you felt like stopping?
In the fight journey?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah?
No, I haven't felt that yet.
What about wrestling?
Wrestling, yes. I was going against, it was my junior year, and I'll never forget his name, Kyle Koziel. He was a Brandon wrestler. I can't remember if it was counties or something, but I had to go against him, and I was dealing with an injury, but I told my coach, Patrick Hardy, I was like, no matter what, I still want to face him. Like, no matter what, like, don't pull me away from facing Kyle. Kyle, when I was going against him, like, we shook hands, his grip was strong. I was like, oh man, this guy. I was like, dang.
I feel that power.
But every time I competed, whether they was better or not, like, I still wanted that.
Yeah.
And I remember going against him, and probably like 2 seconds in the match, he just goes for a shot. He has me up in the air, and I pulled back, and I cross-faced him so hard. Like, I'm like, and he screamed. He screamed, and then he was like, and he slams me. The wind just comes out, and I'm like, I can hear my coach like, get up. Like, I can hear him. I'm like, nah.
You're like,
I'm like, nah, I'm done, coach. I'm like, and so he pins me, man. I was like, yeah, coach, man, hey.
That shit sucked, bro.
My coach will watch it, and he'll know the truth though. But
Dude.
That I could have continued, and it was another time as well. My junior year as well for junior year as well. I won districts against the kid that I had to face in regionals to move on to states. This is my junior year, and I beat him at home for districts to get my name on the wall for East Bay.
Yay!
And when I was supposed to go against him to go to states, and you know, my coach Parsons was like, "Oh man, you already beat this kid before. Like you can do it again. You can do it again." But when I walked out there, I don't know, like something felt different. Like my energy was like everything just it felt like it wasn't right. Like something didn't feel right. Like so I knew he wasn't better than me, but I don't know. I just couldn't get. I wasn't in the right mindset. I was like, I think it was more like, I gotta go against this kid again. Yeah. You know, like it just didn't. I never felt comfortable. Yeah. So when I went out there and we shook hands and we started. You know, it was a good match. We just started wrestling, and the last round, all I had to do was keep him down, and I just in my mind, I just went blank. I just gave up in my head, and then. I lost it, and I didn't end up going to states that year. But those are the only 2 times where I can say that I gave up in competing.
So, in your career with martial arts, or I guess we can fast forward to fighting now, because it sounds like too, even in those moments, those were like learning moments where you just kind of know your limits and you know when you're off your game. So even if you can't figure out what it was about that match that made you go, like, oh, something doesn't feel right, it's like you recognize that.
Right.
And I think that's important as well. I've told a story before, I don't think on this show, but I think I've just talked about it with you guys, where we know a fighter who tapped and he wasn't even getting submitted, but when the fight started and it went to the ground, he was like, no, I didn't feel like fighting. Like his trigger wasn't, the switch wasn't flipping. So that's not safe. Right. Like if you cannot tap into your fighter mentality, like if you're like, where is it? Hello? Like it's been here all camp. Why isn't it here? That's a tough choice to make, but you also have to respect the fighter for acknowledging that, because it is amateur. We're not getting paid, and you can get seriously hurt if for whatever reason you're not waking up. Right. And because the ref, as we've seen, does not always keep the other fighter safe. They don't. And unfortunately, I don't know why. I don't know if they zone out or if they're getting bored or what, but you see so many occasions where the ref should have stopped the fight, or mostly that, should have stopped the fight and didn't. So it's like, do we trust whoever Joe Schmo they're gonna put in here right now? Because it's not like Herb Dean. We're not putting in these refs that are watched like with a magnifying glass on them. It's just local people. So sometimes they're not doing the best job. That's not everybody, but we've all seen, everybody who's watching, who's been to fights, amateur fights especially, we've all seen it happen. So that is definitely a good thing to point out, is when you don't feel like fighting and when you recognize that, like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna, the wind just got knocked out of me. It's not happening. Yeah. Right? Oh God, it's not happening. So, knowing your limits. So as far as your fight career goes now, so we're going into your 4th, going for a 2nd strap, and then your 5th fight is supposed to be this title fight. So defending this title. So what continues to motivate you? Do you have something that you always think about, or has what motivated you, like, has that evolved through each fight? Can we talk about your motivation? It's okay.
My motivation is like not living with regret. Like telling my kids, like, you can do whatever you want to do. Like if this is what you want to do, go for it. Like I'm gonna support it. Yeah. And that's honestly that's all I need to really carry me. But like now, I have a lot of supporters now. Like a lot. Like
you got a lot of fans.
Like Dylan, I gotta bring this up. Dylan, I fought Dylan in my first fight, and that kid is supportive. Like he is supportive. Like we
he became a fan right after y'all fought. He went live about it.
Yeah, he did. Oh my God.
He was like, yo.
He is an awesome individual, and like we try to match our schedules to be able to train. Like he's busy, I'm busy, but I remember like that last fight, like before the 3rd round. Yeah, the 3rd round was about to start, and I remember he looked at me. He was like, "Hey, one more. This is it. You got one more round and you the champ." Like he looked at me and said that, and I was just like, man. This guy is cool, and I let his coach know as well, Kevin Smith. Like I was like, man, Dylan's an awesome individual, and like now it's just like I can't stop. Like I love doing this. You know?
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Oh, that made me emotional too.
It's just so much motivation right now.
you inspire people too, like that kid that was like, I'm a wrestler and people always tell me that you can't just use wrestling, you prove that wrong, man. Like, you definitely have. It was really cool. I didn't see that after, well, definitely didn't see it after your second fight, because people like booed you for winning, but that's what happens when you beat the hometown hero. It's fine. But like,
even I was getting messages like, "Hey, man, you're inspiring me." Like, I get those. Like, you know, it's a great feeling. Like,
it's
really
cool.
Great feeling.
That's awesome. And seeing that too after your last fight, the way people were coming up to you and flocking to you, I was just like, wow, I can't believe that. You know, I can, like, knowing you, but it's just knowing that we're here and that just the positive feedback that we're getting and the positive impact that everyone on the team is making. And you're leading the way right now because of the role that you're in, you know. And then Liz is gonna be, she leads the way as a coach and then is now about to fight, and I'm gonna cry all the way, so we're gonna stop talking about that. But you know, all of y'all are leading by example. Oh god, okay. How long is it? What are we at? What's our timestamp? 40 minutes. Okay.
I will also say too is, like I said, I don't want to say like anyone should be like me. You know, I would always say be better. But there was like when I fight someone, I never look at records. I don't care about records. I don't care like you 10-0, 15-0. It doesn't matter because you haven't fought someone like us here, like at this gym. You haven't fought someone that's been through the type of camp that we've been through. You know, so like anytime I'm fighting someone, I'm not like, that's just it. Like, you could have got that record from fighting whoever. Like, have you fought a Gracie Brandon individual? We're going to be on the map this year. People are going to see our name, and people are going to...
They're already like...
Yeah. Exactly.
Who are these people exactly? I thought they were supposed to be scrubs.
Exactly. And I love, like, you know, like how we're the underdogs. Matt Serra did beat George St. Pierre. Like, he beat him for a title, and we're always going to be the underdogs. And you know, I love it. Like,
it helps. It takes pressure off because, like, it takes pressure off. But then what people are going to start to realize, maybe a lot of times it doesn't happen at the amateur level, just because I don't know what it is about using your ego in the wrong way amateur, but we're just learning. Well, everyone's learning, and I think that we study it a little bit differently. My background in psych really helps. I'm going to drop that all the time. I spent $40,000 on that degree, so. But it's why, you know, I'm like, let's study the ego instead of, because like I watch it happen. I watch people use it in the wrong way, and when you are overly cocky, like the guy that almost got kicked out, the freaking commission guy was like, you don't have to fight, because this fighter who's only fought 3 times was being disrespectful and not willing to cough up information. It was like the commissioner was just trying to clarify his record, and the fighter, I don't know why, was like taking it as some sort of personal attack, like the commissioner was questioning his credentials, talking to him like, oh, I don't need to tell you what I'm about and blah blah blah. And the commissioner's like, you don't have to fight. I'm in control of that. Right. Like, okay, sit down. And then the other guy, another commissioner, was like, I got it. Just let me work with him, because, you know, sometimes personalities clash. Because I would have been like the original commissioner. I wouldn't even have let anybody handle it. I'd have been like, oh, cool, sit down. I'm also going to blacklist you from every other promotion because you suck. You are rude and you need to sit down.
He didn't even win.
So,
by the way.
I know. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway. Oh, okay. I don't want to get into that too much. But yeah, dude. So, but that whole like, I think that's why when people underestimate us, like, I think they look at us and they're using their ego in the wrong way. They do look at us as just a jiu-jitsu school and just thrown together Muay Thai program. Y'all don't need to sleep on Rufus Sport, first of all. Okay. That's like, we're not just thrown together, we're very organized, but it's fine. But I think that is what happens, is I think people under prepare for us and we over prepare for everybody. We prepare like we don't have, I think, the means to prepare like UFC fighters, but that's the goal, is to make ourselves that level. We want to be able to have really good performances in our fights, and we may not always win, but we want to get to the level. I want all my fighters before they go pro to be just like destroying people at amateur. Like, okay, there's nothing left for me here. Have we perfected as much as we can in this? That's what amateur's for. Perfect everything. Get better at everything. Then get that pro card. Then go on a tear at pro. And then that way you're not stopped at pro. I see that happen so many times where people are not ready for their pro card yet because fighting is really hard. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to improve, and there's people who are always getting better. So if you have 5 fights, the minimum amount to get your pro card, and then you get your pro card, and then you fight somebody who's 0-0 in pro, and you're 0-0 in pro, so you guys are both debuting, but they had 15 amateur fights.
Right.
Okay, let's see who's going to probably do better, you know? So that's your 6th fight ever, and it's going to be on a professional card. And then what happens is you don't get paid. People don't want you on their card because you have a losing record as a pro, and they're like, I don't know. So you can get away with having a losing record in the beginning, especially if you put on a show. But after a while, it's like you don't seem like you're going to deliver. So we are always looking to improve our camps and just make sure that I think our camps get better and better.
Absolutely.
Collaborating with other coaches. We're actually adding on to our wrestling program as well, because that's something that we have all kind of fallen in love with as fighters, as coaches. Like I come from a Muay Thai background and a not super seasoned jiu-jitsu background. My belt's blue, and I always remind people of that when I'm cornering them at MMA, like in the gym, and then I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, free this arm. Oh, I don't know. He's got it. I don't know. Can I get a black belt over here? But we're learning as we go, and I think that's also part of why people might underestimate us. But don't. There's that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I think in the fight game, you shouldn't underestimate people who are coming from a clean slate, because they're looking at what works. They're looking at who's the best, and they're studying the best. That's what we're doing. We're studying the best. We're working with the best. We're consulting with winners, people with winning teams. So, and we're just always open to learn, and that's what our fighters bring to the table as well. So, another good thing that you pointed out is the fact that you're friends with your opponents, you know, after the fact, except for the win. But it's when you train with, or when you fight somebody, why not train with them after? You know, I mean, again, this is amateur. We're all learning, and we can fight for the same gym, and then eventually in our pro career go separate ways because whatever reason, you know, you could move, you could get a contract somewhere else, and then you see it in the UFC all the time where former training partners have to fight each other.
Right.
And it is what it is, man. A fight is a fight, and a fighter is a fighter. If we have to fight each other, we have to fight each other. Even at a local level, we're in the Gracie Tampa network. So sometimes we accidentally get matched up with other people in the Gracie Tampa network, and then it's awkward. So then we just have to kind of just be, okay, whatever. I guess we'll just have fun out there, you know? But we weren't taking it easy on each other either. And then we still shook hands and hugged after, because you want a good fight.
Right.
Like, we accidentally had to fight Gracie Westchase. I was like, what? And they put us in the same locker room. Like, we were wrapping hands next to each other. And we were fighting each other. And we're in the same network. So we were like, guess we're just going to have fun. Like, so, but it happens, man. So the more that you can get out of your head and learn to control that, that's why it's like purify your ego, like Ian said in his episode. Learn how to use it. And don't underestimate your opponents, ever. Even when we watch footage on our opponents and we're like, I always say, you should beat them. Like, if I look at how they're performing, I'm like, you should beat them. But we're going to pretend that they went to Dagestan for the summer and they and they were in camp. So that way we don't ever, because you never know, somebody from their last fight, they could look like garbage, and then a switch flipped in those few months that they had in between this fight. You never know when you hit that stride. So we're going to pretend that our opponents hit that stride every time, even whenever we with your last opponent, how we had no idea. We had no idea what to expect. So we're like, all right, well, he's tall. We started immediately like, okay, let's see what dimensions we're working with. We're going to pretend he's fast. We're going to pretend he knows how to use his length. The game plan that works best for him, that we know works best for him because we're always studying this, we're going to pretend he's implementing that. You made it very hard for him to implement that, which was really cool. So yeah, I think we definitely got a good thing going. So I think we can wrap it up from here. Forrest is here pretty much in the morning. So if you guys want to train with him, members of Gracie Brandon. He's usually here Monday through Wednesday in the morning, so you can get that work in. Weekends open mat, he's here too, most of the time if he's not working. So definitely get in here and train with him. It's a good experience. Also, if you have any questions, we can have him on here again. We do want to have people on here multiple times that are fighting, so we can kind of highlight their experience and go through that. So let us know. You can comment, you can tell us directly, but it's Fighterside Chats as our Instagram handle. So if you want to follow us on Instagram or is it just Fighterside Chats? It's Fighterside Chats, right? Okay. So at Fighterside Chats. We also have a YouTube channel called Fighterside Chat, so you can subscribe there, comment questions there too. Anything on the Fighterside Chat platforms, if there's any additional questions you want us to ask for future interviews, any other topics you want us to talk about as well, anybody else that you want us to interview or any other ideas you have. This is a new thing we started doing for the students of Gracie Brandon, but people started wanting to share it, so other people are welcome as well, as long as you're positive. So yeah. So whenever we sign out, so thank you for being here today, by the way. Thank you for taking the time. So when we sign out, we do Gracie Brandon on 3. So we do 1, 2, 3, Gracie Brandon, and we clap.
Got you.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, Gracie Brandon.
Wait,
oh wait.
Come on, Coach.
Damn it. All right. So are we saying Gracie Brandon and then clapping?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3,
Gracie Brandon. Right? Is that right? That's right.
You still have to grow. If you're at the top of your game, what I know about you, if you're at the top of your game, there's still room for improvement. You can still get bigger. You can still get better. You can still be bolder. If you are still alive, there's still room for growth. There's still room to grow and be better. And so it says it doesn't make a difference in the safari. In Africa, it does not make a difference when the sun comes up. Boom! You better get to running. And so I studied.